The Bahrain Grand Prix. Now, this was supposed to be the best race of the season, and I still think it is, without a shadow of a doubt. However, it is largely overshadowed by Romain Grosjean's massive accident. And I'm dead serious, I thought he was dead when I saw this first on the TV. I watched it live, the race. I woke up very early today to see the race, and let me tell you, it was horrifying to watch. And the 1 hour red flag period was not so great either. Anyways, to the crash, I want to quickly explain and give some points. The race made an excellent video on it, and I do recommend you watch it. It gives more depth on it. I'm just going to cover the race as well, so I'm going to quickly go over some of the points. So here's how it happened. Kvyat sort of triggered it, but it actually started with some damage coming off of Lance Stroll's car. Romain actually swerved to get around it so he didn't get a puncture, probably having flashbacks to last year when he did get some form of damage. So then, swerved out of the way, but he came across Kvyat. That didn't work too well for him because he then was slid into the wall and came in at such an angle that the energy was just too much, and it just wasn't able to be dissipated well enough. And this is sort of the moment where I realized that, high-nosed F1 cars should really come back into stage right now, because they would have been able to dissipate the energy a lot better because there's more area on the nose for the energy to be dissipated across. And this is all very scientific, what I'm saying now, but in fact, it's, when you think about it, not too hard to understand, and I think Romain would not be in hospital tonight with third-degree burns. I think he would actually be sitting in the Haas motorhome thinking what could have been if he hadn't, or if Lance Stroll hadn't gotten debris into his car. I don't think it would have been as serious, and, that would have been much better in the end. Now, the fire, the hardest part of the entire situation to understand. It looks as though when the car hit the barrier, the force of the impact just sent the batteries into complete thermal runaway. And what that means is that they just became extremely hot, and because they're so close to the fuel tank, just chain reaction and massive inferno. It's not the sort of thing you want to see, and it's a nice reminder that the V8s with their non-hybrid engines probably would not have caught on fire, because without the hot hybrid components, maybe this entire situation could have been avoided and Romain would not have these third-degree burns. But then again, we'll never know. Now just a quick update on his condition. He is in hospital in downtown Bahrain, a military hospital, and he has burns and it looks like broken ribs. Other than that, not too bad. Now, after an hour of the Bahraini officials fixing the barriers, to be honest, more diligent than I've seen anybody else fixing anything this season, pretty exceptional the amount of work they put into that. After that 1 hour stoppage, race got back underway, and Lance Stroll was flipped over. Absolutely crazy. So his car was flipped and by Daniel Kvyat, and I'm not going to say that, he caused Romain Grosjean's crash. I think that was Lance Stroll's debris. But what I am going to say is he certainly caused Lance Stroll to flip over in an accident reminiscent of Bahrain 2014 when Pastor Maldonado hit the side of Esteban Gutierrez's car and sent him into a roll as well. Now, coming back to the race, Kimi had excellent pace throughout the entire thing, even with a broken front wing. I think it needs to be remembered that Kimi probably could and should have had an excellent race today. Even though he had a front wing that was looking very, very damaged. Now, Bottas, after the early safety car, had a puncture, so he had to go back to the back of the pack, and he sort of fought his way back up to the points. But Max Verstappen actually stayed in second place after Bottas exited his second place role and stayed there throughout the rest of the race. Sergio Perez, when Bottas vacated his second place seat, he got up into third place. Now, what this meant for the Racing Point team was that they were going to stay ahead of McLaren in the championship. However, when Sergio Perez had his very late engine failure, that meant that there were going to be no points scored for the Racing Point team, and McLaren, who were in the positions 4th and 5th, they would get 10 points from their 5th place car and 12 points from their 4th place car. They would get a very huge haul of points, overtaking Racing Point in the championship. So now they are in third place with 2 races left in the season. Commenting on some of the overtakes, Carlos Sainz shot some very ballsy overtakes down into turn 1. And because of the really interesting camera work by the Bahrain track, and they have some excellent angles they can shoot on that track. Something that wasn't covered in much detail was the team orders that were used by Renault. Inevitably, when Cranky Yankee F1, who is a very well-known hater of team orders, makes his video on this race, he probably will, there will, of course, be something mentioned about the team orders used. I think that was sneaky putting Ricciardo ahead because he just had no pace. The McLarens were considerably faster than them all weekend, even though it didn't show in qualifying. And the team order didn't pay off, especially with the late safety car. It just ruined their race. I was also really surprised to see that nobody put on the soft tires near the end. I thought that was going to be the way to go, and if I was writing race strategy, I would have gone medium, medium, soft. Apparently nobody thought to do that, or it was just a horrible strategy. And I'm not very good at coming up with F1 strategies. Either or, you can have your opinion. I have mine. I think it is the former. I really hope it isn't the latter. Daniel Kvyat today was very stupid. I'm not going to blame him for Romain Grosjean's crash, but in the end, that move that he sent down the inside of Lance Stroll was in general just stupid. And I'm not saying he had no right to be there. There was a space, and in the words of the great Ayrton Senna, when you no longer go for a space that is there, you're no longer a racing driver. However, that space closed so quickly, he should have just backed out of it. He ended Lance Stroll's race, and he's pretty much ended the fight for third place in the Constructors' Championship. And I think tonight, he'll probably think about that. Anyways, finally, going on to Sergio Perez's retirement, I believe it's very unfortunate. However, I think the actual engine failure itself was a lot more dramatic than presumably the problem. It was probably a cracked exhaust. We don't have anything from the Racing Point team. Mercedes is always very secretive if they have an engine failure. They don't want to tell you until they've definitively said, oh yes, this is the problem, or they cover it up with something. So we're not going to get news of what it actually was for probably another week. That's sort of my take on the issues of this race. So, quick recap. We have 2 races left, 1 in Bahrain and 1 in Abu Dhabi. We're probably not going to see much overtaking in Abu Dhabi, but then again, if somebody can just send a move somewhere, that'd be excellent. And the one at Bahrain is going to be on a different track layout. Red Bull actually seemed quite confident. That is going to be very interesting to see, if Honda can do something with the engine, change a power curve. That would be excellent to see. You need somebody to fight with Mercedes, and in the end, if it's not going to be Red Bull, it's going to be one of the Mercedes powered teams, probably likely to be Racing Point. And if they can bounce back from this horror weekend they've had, then credit to them. That'll be very interesting to see what happens next weekend. We will be covering in depth next weekend, and we will also be covering the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, although there probably won't be that much to cover. I say that statement is inevitably going to not age too well. Yikes. Can't believe I just said that. Anyways, so we will be covering next weekend's race in Bahrain. I'm very excited to be doing that. And we may do a live stream for Abu Dhabi. Depending on the timing for that, that could either be very early in the morning, and in that case we can't do that. But if it's at a reasonable time, we will certainly try. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, drop a like, do subscribe if you feel like it. Thank you, goodbye.